Welcome into another edition of the Celtics pregame report. It's game number 34 for the Boston Celtics as they return home at TD Garden to take on the Miami Heat. I'm your host, Josue Pavone for CLNS Media, alongside Tom Westerholm of MassLive.com. What's going on, Tom? How you been?
I've been good, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. We had a good time last time, so I figured, you got the okay to come back on.
Glad that's the test.
All right, well, Tom, this Celtics team, some nights it feels like there's not enough offense coming off the bench, especially since losing Marcus Morris. But the other nights, it feels like this is one of the deepest teams in the league. Celtics, of course, coming off a dramatic finish in Indiana after blowing a 15-point lead. It was Terry Rozier coming up with a huge steal, a dunk right before the game clock expired to push the Celtics ahead 112 to 111. Which team is this, Tom? Is it the deep one or is it not?
It's a really good question. I think this is what happens when you have really talented young players as your depth. You know what I mean? So you've got Shemi Ojale, who looks like a really good rookie, but the problem is that he's a rookie. So some nights he's going to look like he'll knock down a three, or a couple of threes or whatever. Some nights he'll go 0 for 6 and just can't really seem to find it. And even guys like Shane Larkin, who's been consistent off the bench, but even he's a pretty young guy, although he's got a lot of experience, just going overseas and everything else. But I think a lot of this can just be chalked up to the fact that the Celtics' average age is 24, and young guys are inconsistent, and that's going to throw you for a loop some nights.
We've seen two very close games between the Celtics and the Miami Heat this year. They split the season series so far, one game apiece. Each game, there was a 6-point differential. Why did the Miami Heat match up so well against the Celtics?
I just think they have a lot of size. They have a lot of athleticism. They've got kind of a good system where they can have a lot of guys switching as well. And that's tough. They don't really have a good answer for Kyrie, I don't think. Especially the way that he's been shooting coming off pick and rolls, because he's just been really, really tough to stop. We saw that a ton against Indiana. He would just pull up from mid-range, or if the Celtics brought the screen a little bit higher, he could hit those. Obviously, he can hit those three-pointers off the dribble as well. So I think they don't necessarily have a great answer for him, but just the size and the length and the switchability. In a lot of ways, their defense can look like the Celtics at times, which is pretty high praise this season. So I think just that versatility is really big, especially against the Celtics team that like you were just mentioning, can struggle to score some nights.
This edition of the Celtics pregame report is brought to you by DraftKings.com. Head over to DraftKings.com. Use the promo code CLNS for a free sign-up with your first deposit and a shot at a share of $10,000 in total prizes. That's DraftKings.com. Use the promo code CLNS and get yourself paid. Tom, Rozier may have had the big steal and the winning dunk, but without Kyrie Irving's back-to-back three-pointers in that final minute, the Celtics don't win that game. Now that we're 33 games in, I think it's appropriate to start having this Kyrie Irving for MVP talk. I know some people were already having this talk about over a month ago, but if he's not the early favorite, who is?
Well, I don't think that he's the early favorite. I think that it's Harden and LeBron and Giannis maybe are still maybe not Giannis at this point just because the Bucks have struggled a little bit. But definitely LeBron and Harden have really, I think, kind of separated themselves from the field. But I think when you start getting into that 3, 4, 5 range, I think it's really reasonable to have him in that range because he's been unbelievable. And I think early in the season, his candidacy took a little bit of a hit just because Horford was playing so well, and you could make a case that Horford's defense was as important as Kyrie's offense to this team. But I do think that's kind of leveled out. Like you said, he was the key down the stretch. Obviously, if it wasn't for Rozier's steal, they probably don't win that game. But they're not in a position if Kyrie isn't just hitting clutch shot after clutch shot, and he's really kind of giving them what they had last year with Isaiah Thomas, which is that that spark in the fourth quarter, that just unstoppable guy with the ball in his hands who you can't steal it from him. He never turns it over really, and he's every time he gets a shot in the air, it's probably a good shot. He's really tough to block, so he really gives them that extra scoring punch, and I think you can definitely say at this point that he's probably the MVP of the team, and I would say I would have him in that somewhere between 3 to 5 range, as far as league wide at this point.
Who wins tonight?
I've got the Celtics. I think they're rolling a little bit right now. I think I think that win against Indiana is the kind of thing that can spur you on a little bit. And I do think that Kyrie is just at this point, if you don't have a way to at least slow Kyrie down a little bit, the Celtics just become really, really tough because they've got the three-point shooting around him. Horford and Kyrie have this unbelievable two-man game that's just so much fun to watch. And I just don't think Miami necessarily has that, has that in their arsenal to really slow him down. So I've got the Celtics.
All right, he's Tom Westerholm of MassLive.com. Head over to MassLive.com Well, Tom got you covered when it comes to Celtics talk. And, of course, give him a follow on Twitter at Tom_NBA. Tom, thanks for stopping by, man. I'll see you soon.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Make sure you check out the Garden Report right after the game. The only place you can find full-length press conference right after the game, full-length interviews from the players directly from the Celtics locker room, and, of course, plenty of reaction from the parquet from myself and plenty of others. Weekday shows air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel, on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media mobile app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone, this is Josue Pavone signing off.